Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's International Tiger Day, Tony. Do you know there are 9 different types of tigers?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Let me guess. LSU, Clemson, Auburn, Memphis, Missouri, Jackson State, Princeton, Detroit, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Others receiving votes, Tiger Woods and Tony the Tiger from Frosted Flakes. That's what I got. What do you got?
I think you got one that I was thinking about. Bengal Tigers is a real tiger. But the only one that matters is Tiger Woods. And the rest of them, their nicknames, their mascots, they're fine. Tiger Woods. That's it. That's the list.
I got LSU way up there. I do. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Clippers are old, Fernando Tatis Jr. is good, and Jeff Passan joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase, who has led the American League in saves 3 different times, being placed on non-disciplinary paid leave as baseball investigates sports gambling. Clase's teammate Luis Ortiz placed on similar leave 3 weeks ago after increased gambling activity was noticed on 2 pitches Ortiz threw. Clase has not been accused of anything untoward, but will be out until September 1st. Clase's ERA last year, Wilbon, 0.61.
Yeah.
Wilbon, what feels fair to say at this point?
Tony, I don't know what's fair to say. I'm not going to concentrate on it, and I'm not going to think about it because I don't care. Leagues and networks have gotten into bed with gambling and gamblers. That's all I care. I care to say that. And if I'm Class A or anybody else, and they don't ultimately come up with proof, evidence, proof, not trends, proof that I was involved in this, you think that Bryce Harper went after the commissioner? I'd be going after the commissioner with the most powerful lawyers, sharks I could after baseball. Because I don't work for the gambling houses. I don't work for them. I work for baseball. And basically, when you take me out, you're casting an aspersion, and you better have proof if I did not do this, if. I know big if. But Tony, networks, again, and leagues, they got in bed with gamblers. I don't want to see them pointing the finger at anybody else and never themselves. You could tell it makes me angry.
So many things make you angry, yes. I don't know where this is going. I don't know if Class A is involved with gamblers and gambling. I don't know if Ortiz is involved with gamblers and gambling, but I'm pretty sure what I'm going to say now. And I even wrote it down, gambling can't be good for the integrity of a sport because it raises more questions than it resolves. 8 to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, there was no problem like this because baseball and basketball and football did not have gambling partners. Now they have gambling partners, and commissioners stand up and they say things like, in the main, gambling is fine, except for these things. Well, what are these things? Is it betting on the first pitch? Is it betting on the first 3-point shot? Is it betting on the first forward pass? Or is it the first pitch, the 8th pitch, and the 23rd pitch? It's very, very hard to tell how these things work. But I will tell you this. With the way gambling works now, Mike, there is a real sense of who bets, how much they bet, when they bet, and on what they bet. The database is enormous. Everybody knows exactly what is going on. So you can zero in on something. And I think, Mike, sports, and I know we agree on this, opened up a terrible can of worms with gambling. And I think the only deterrent for players, honestly, the only deterrent is banishment for life. That's all that will deter it. If these people are involved, and if they're not, I agree with you, get off them. Get off them.
Well, that's where we entered. You said there wasn't much of a problem 50 years ago. Don't tell that to Pete Rose or his estate or all the people who wanted him in the Hall of Fame all these years. There's always
that was very specific about baseball. That was specific about baseball and gambling.
It's so much broader now. There's so much more we know about it now. And who's to fault for that? Class A? I don't think so. Let's move to the NBA, where the Clippers are getting old. The team officially reintroduced 40-year-old Chris Paul yesterday, who joins the 36-year-old James Harden, or soon to be, 34-year-old Kawhi Leonard, and 32-year-old Bradley Beal, among others. As Yahoo's Tom Haberstroh notes, the team's average age is higher than 33. By contrast, the Thunder's was lower than 25 when they just won the title. So, Tone, Do you give the Clippers strategy, going old, big chance, little chance, no chance in today's NBA?
I certainly don't give them a big chance because, as you said, the reigning NBA champions were the youngest average age team in the last half century. And if you combine the Thunder and the Pacers, you had the lowest average age ever in an NBA final. And now you got Methuselah walking down Century Boulevard, and you're asking me if I like the strategy. No, I don't like the strategy. I give them a little chance because they've accumulated wonderful players, even if they're over 30 and in some cases way over 30. But you got to go through 4 rounds of the playoffs against good teams whose average age is probably 6, 8, 10 years younger. I think it can work to get into the playoffs. I don't know if it works in the playoffs. And a lot of pressure on Tyronn Lue to make sure he doesn't pull a Thibodeau, to make sure he spreads the minutes out and doesn't, ruin his players at that age.
Tone, I'm glad you mentioned T. Lue because T. Lue's not going to beat Tibbs in that regard. He's going to realize half the guys are as old as he is. Could have played against a couple of guys, probably has. Tony, I'm looking at their lineup of Kawhi, Harden, Zubac, who's 28, Beal, Bogdanovich, and then a bench of Batum, Derrick Jones Jr., who's 28, Chris Paul, and Brook Lopez, who I didn't mention yet, and he's 36, 37. Tony, I think you're right about this. We're going to disagree on the end result. But I think T. Lue's the perfect guy to sort of use their planned obsolescence, but get them to the playoff. If he can get Kawhi there, God knows that may take a miracle. But get them to the playoffs, and then I'll still take the old dudes because they don't have to play back-to-back, and there's no practice, and it's not. Tony, I'll take them if they can get to a top 5 spot. I'll take the Clippers to win a round, maybe more.
Now, when we're talking about winning a championship, and you look at Djokovic's still a great player, but when he plays Sinner, and when he plays Alcaraz, and he gives away that many years, he can't beat him. We move on. Mike, we moved to the passing of Ryne Sandberg yesterday at just 65 years old from cancer. Sandberg was one of the greatest second basemen of all time and a beloved icon in Chicago, where he played his entire career, 16 seasons for the Cubs. Within the last year, the Cubs put a statue of him in front of Wrigley. Please give us your thoughts on Ryne Sandberg.
Well, Tony, I had a lot of them. And last night, when I heard this, watching the Cubs and Brewers, it was exceptionally sad for Cub fans. Ryne Sandberg is one of the great players in a franchise that's nearly 150 years old, and you mentioned his statue. It seems like we're about the same age. My whole life watching Ryne Sandberg in person and on television. And Tony, Sandberg ushered in the modern era of the Cubs. There was probably 3 eras, but one of them, the one preceding me, was Ernie Banks and Billy Williams and Fergie Jenkins and Ron Santo and my heroes. And then the next one was Harry Carey, an announcer, and Ryne Sandberg. And there was a game in June of 1984, 6/23/84, in which Ryne Sandberg by himself essentially beat the Cardinals. And the Cubs didn't have lights at Wrigley Field then. They were never in the postseason, never as in never. They hadn't been since 1945. We traded for Rick Sutcliffe the week earlier, and we had Sutcliffe and Rhino and then Dawson, and all of a sudden, the Cubs got to be a thing. And Wrigley Field was full. And you had Walter Payton and Michael Jordan just coming into town. And Ryne Sandberg. And it was a heady time, intoxicating time we'll never forget. And it's just painful to lose Ryne Sandberg at this stage of his life, which still should be the late prime of his life.
I don't have personal memories of Sandberg the way you do, but I did watch this morning on television when people put lit candles right by that statue in Wrigley. That's a very moving thing. I mean, we all know about Wrigley Field and the Cubs fans, and when they finally won a World Series, they went to gravestones and they read newspaper articles to their departed family members. And it always struck me that Chicago has a deep feeling for people that it loves over a long period of time, and clearly they loved Ryne Sandberg. Clearly. Let's take a break. Coming up, what should we take away from Bryce Harper's reported confrontation with Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred? We're going to ask Jeff Bassett.
We'll also ask him whether the trade value of Geno Suarez was affected when he took a pitch off the right index finger last night.
Mike,
Tony,
you always quote Shaq. You always quote Shaq saying, Father Time never loses. He's undefeated. That's what's
No.
going to happen to the
39 ain't 29.
That's what's going to happen.
39 ain't 29,
Yeah.
bro.
Pardon the interruption.
We've got baseball questions for our great friend, ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passan. I'll go to the glasses so that I can read these. You reported yesterday, Jeff, that Bryce Harper told Commissioner Rob Manfred, right to his face, to, quote, get the bleep out of our clubhouse if Manfred wanted to talk about a potential salary cap. What is your takeaway from that entire exchange?
I think it's a microcosm, Tony, of the relationship between Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association. And look, this is something that's been going on for more than half a century at this point. The owners want to put a salary cap in place, and the players say, no, 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 we want a free market. We want a free market because a free market gives us Juan Soto at 15 years and $765 million. And, you know, Rob Manfred never used the words salary cap in that meeting, but he didn't have to, because the rhetoric has been amping up over the last year or so among the owners. David Rubenstein of the Baltimore Orioles said publicly, I would like a salary cap. Others have implied as much. And it's just a red line for the players. It's something that Bryce Harper in that meeting said, we will lose 162 games if it means avoiding a salary cap. Now, Major League Baseball has already in 1994 seen a World Series canceled because of the salary cap. And here we are 30 plus years later, and the same thing is happening again. And as a fan of baseball, I can only hope that they don't miss the forest for the trees, and that they understand that losing a season of baseball fighting over labor, it might not be the death knell of the sport, but if it has any sort of effect like it did back in 1994, it will take a long, long time to come back from.
Wow. I don't remember Bryce Harper going back after Jonathan Papelbon quite as hard as he went after Rob Manfred, but that's just me. I don't want to get too sidetracked, Jeff. I want to ask you about trade deadline darling, Gino Suarez. Yes, Gino, as he's known here in the desert. He got hit on the index finger last night with a pitch. X-rays are negative, but how much is it going to affect his value? Do you think some team might pull out? What's going to happen to Suarez, who's got 1 trillion home runs so far after this hit by pitch last night?
Mike, he's missing today's game, which does not bode well necessarily, and teams are worried, and I can understand why, because the one thing that can really sap power from a player is an injury to the hand or the wrist. And Eugenio Suarez, for all that he does well, the thing that teams are going to be acquiring him for, theoretically, is for that home run power. And yet, because it's not broken, I can't imagine a team is going to sit there and say, well, if we're going to acquire him or not acquire him, a bruised finger is going to keep us from doing that. That just doesn't seem particularly realistic. But look, 48 hours out from the deadline, teams are looking for all the leverage that they possibly can get and all the reasons not to pay as much as the Diamondbacks want. I foresee him going by the end of the deadline and being potentially the biggest name to go.
Do you have a favorite landing spot for him, Jeff, just to follow up?
I mean, the Cubbies seem pretty perfect. I know Matt Shaw has played really well lately, 4 home runs in his last 9 games.
Yeah.
Seattle Mariners are another spot. I'd say to a lesser extent, the Cincinnati Reds, Philadelphia Phillies, and Detroit Tigers. Someone's going to get him. Someone's going to be really happy to have gotten him.
All right, speaking of injured stars who could impact everything, Aaron Judge's injury, we still don't know, of course, when he's going to be back and when he's going to be back fully as Aaron Judge. Do the Yankees do anything? What's their mindset now going into these final 48 hours, not knowing about their star?
The Yankees have been really proactive still on the trade market, and yet you have to acknowledge that without Aaron Judge in that lineup, it is a completely different team. If Aaron Judge is not a New York Yankee right now, they're playing the whole season without him, this is probably a 500 team. That's how good he's been this year, and you don't know what kind of Aaron Judge you're going to get back. But let's also look at what the injury is. It is a flexor injury in his forearm and connected to his elbow. It's the sort of thing where even if he can't throw, he still will be able to hit. He will be able to DH. And the hope is to get him back around that 10-day mark off the injured list and to ease him in after a week or two of DH back to playing in the outfield. But look, even if he's not in the outfield all the rest of this season, he's still going to be a force in that lineup. And because of that, the Yankees are shopping for closers. They're in on David Bednar. They're in on Ryan Helsley. I anticipate that they are going to get a big relief arm before the deadline is over, perhaps 2 relief arms, and they're also looking at starting pitching as well.
We will get you out of here on this, but we will ask you to be quick in the answer if you could. Are there any other players, or is there a team that you're keeping an eye on for activity as the trade deadline approaches?
2 players who I think we should at very least keep an eye on. Number 1, Stephen Kwan with the Cleveland Guardians. After Emmanuel Clase was put on non-disciplinary paid leave as part of the gambling investigation yesterday, Kwan's name started coming up plenty more. He could move. And then Mackenzie Gore with your Nationals, Tony. They are setting a high price, but if that price is met, I don't think the Nationals will hesitate to move him.
We've already lost so many people in this situation.
The only reason he's got to watch now.
Don't want to lose Gore. Thank you,
James
Jeff.
Wood, Michael.
Thank
you, Jeff.
James Wood. Yeah. Thank you, boys.
That's right. He's got Wood.
Let's
True,
take
true
one
enough.
last break. Still to come. Travis Hunter announces his nickname. I wonder if it's Playoff P.
And Fernando Tatis Jr. brings one back. I'll still take Suarez. I'll take Suarez
Don't
if the
trade.
finger's broken. Get him in there.
Yeah.
Put him in. And Shaw's hot. He's right since the break. But
Mackenzie
I'll take
Gore is a
Suarez.
very good pitcher. I
I'll
would
take
keep
Gore.
him. That's me.
Gore is rumored to be coming our way, too.
Happy time, people. Happy belated 74th birthday, Doug Collins. This was yesterday. Collins was the overall number 1 pick out of Illinois State in the 1973 draft by the Philadelphia 76ers. Collins had been on the 1972 U.S. Olympic basketball team that lost to the Soviet Union on a disputed call. Collins made 4 straight NBA All-Star teams from 1976 to 1979. After the NBA, Collins went into coaching. He was Michael Jordan's coach on the Chicago Bulls. He also coached the Pistons, the Wizards, where he coached Jordan again, and the 76ers. Collins also had a long career in the TV broadcast booth, where he was a terrific analyst. Collins is a PTI favorite, and Wilbon loves his son, Chris, who coaches Northwestern.
I love the whole family, Tony, and I've sort of been adopted by the Collins family, and I'm proud of that. Doug Collins is one of the most fascinating figures in the history of basketball. The whole thing, you mentioned the Olympic team. And he's the greatest broadcast analyst ever. No one's close to Doug Collins. And maybe I'll take him a big cake from you and me when I drive past his house on my way home, because like all good Midwesterners, Doug found his way to the desert.
Happy anniversary, Sparky Anderson. This is posthumous, but on this day 39 years ago, Anderson became the first manager to win 600 games or more in both the American and National Leagues when his Tigers beat Milwaukee 9-5. Anderson was also the first manager to win a World Series in both leagues, winning with the Reds and Tigers. Tony La Russa has since won at least 600 games with 3 different teams, Cardinals, A's, and White Sox. Bruce Bochy had over 900 wins with the Padres and the Giants, and recently won a World Series in Texas. Jim Leyland and Terry Francona won over 700 games with different teams, Leyland in Pittsburgh and Detroit, Francona in Boston and Cleveland.
Tony, this got me thinking about my Mount Rushmore managers, modern time, post-World War II. La Russa, Sparky Anderson, Joe Torre. I got 3. I can't put Bochy on because his record is under 500 by a couple of games. And I want to put Earl Weaver on, 583 winning percentage, but he was 1-3 in World Series. So I don't know. I got a 4th spot. It's open for bidding.
Yeah, take bids on it. Happy trails to a home run for Mark Vientos. The Mets and Padres were tied at 1 in the top of the 4th last night when Vientos sent a shot deep to right. Platinum Glover Fernando Tatis Jr. tracked it, timed his jump perfectly to bring it back. Tatis bobbled it on the transfer, but the ump reviewed it and ruled it a catch. Vientos got his revenge 1 inning later when he hit a grand slam to give the Mets a 5-1 lead, but the Padres scored 5 of their own in the bottom half of that inning. They went on to win on a walk-off single, snapping the Mets' 7-game winning streak.
I know the Padres aren't the Dodgers, but the Padres are so exciting to watch. Maybe the most exciting team in baseball still, period. Most exciting.
Big finish as quickly as we can. The Brewers beat the Cubs last night in the first of 3. How'd that taste?
I'm on to the next one. It's a 3-game series. We're only one behind the Cheeseheads. We're ready. Katie Ledecky won the 1,500-meter freestyle at the Worlds. I know you're impressed.
Yeah, she's only the best female swimmer of all time. Skylar Diggins had a triple-double in just 3 quarters last night as the Storm beat the Sun. Was that a big deal?
Yeah, only the second player in team history to do it. Big deal. Travis Hunter told CBS Sports he wants his nickname to be the Unicorn. You like that?
No, Porzingis was that. How'd that work out? It's like playoff P. Stop it. Last one, Venus Williams got a wild card into the U.S. Open mixed doubles. You okay with that?
Of course, they're trying to make us watch the mixed doubles. I'd watch it if Venus Williams is in with you. So I'll certainly watch it now.
I would love that. I could get a point or two. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. And look at me, Wilbon. I'm in mauve again. Mauve.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. And now, you know what's coming next. He's in mauve. Here's SportsCenter.
PTI. Here's Tony and Mike with PTI's bonus segment.
All right, Wilbon. Who is the best athlete from Mississippi?
Tony, I'm colored by this. I'm biased by this. My last childhood hero is from Mississippi, the great Walter Payton, Sweetness. He's born and raised there. He played at Jackson State. And maybe, I don't know, another one of my top 5 football players of all time, Jerry Rice, is from Mississippi. But I'm going with Walter Payton. I mean, that to me is a magical name. And if I did a Mount Rushmore, you and I tend to do that sometimes, it'd be Payton, Rice, Favre, and Manning as in Archie. That would be it. And Cool Papa Bell would have a statue all by himself away from the heads, because only one head belongs by itself. Cool Papa Bell, maybe the greatest nickname ever in baseball, certainly one of them, one of the greatest players. So that's where I sort of live with the state of Mississippi and greatness.
So we are asked to pick the number 1 athlete from Mississippi. Let there be no question here. The number 1 person from Mississippi is Elvis Presley from Tupelo, Mississipি.
Elvis was a hero the most.
Double P-I. Yeah, but
Hero
not
the
to you
most.
necessarily.
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking at the names that are in my ear. There's Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Brett Favre, Archie Manning, Lance Allworth, Charlie Connolly, Lem Barney, L.C. Greenwood, Ralph Boston, who held the world record as a long jumper.
Yeah.
Jackie Slater. They're all football players, Mike. And the reason they're all football players is because that's what, well, not Ralph Boston, but that's what matters most in Mississippi. What matters most is the football players that they produce. The best football player in this group is Jerry Rice, because Jerry Rice is the best receiver of all time, and nobody argues that. You can argue that Walter Payton wasn't the best running back, or that Favre or Archie Manning. You can do that. So I would end up going with Jerry Rice, but I do like the Mount Rushmore, and part of me thinks Archie Manning going to Mississippi was such a big deal. Peyton did not. Eli did. Arch is not. But yeah, it's all football, and it's all football. It's like Alabama. It's football. That's what we're talking about.
We're going to go out here. I'm going to mention a football player's name who at 18 years old we thought might make that Mount Rushmore. He was so famous and so talented, the young Marcus Dupree. We were dazzled by him, and he might not go on a Mount Rushmore like that, but you're right, Tony. It's football rich. I was trying to think of like a couple of basketball players, Eric Dampier. It's just football. Absolutely.
There were books written about Marcus Dupree when he was a kid. There were books written about him.
Before he was 21.
Yes.
We're done. Back to you.